Arsenal fans, welcome back to the channel. There is a huge amount happening around Arsenal right now, and the final stages of the transfer window are becoming increasingly dramatic. Today we have major developments surrounding Julian Alvarez, fresh claims about Gabriel Martinelli's imminent move to Al Hilal, questions surrounding Mikel Arteta and the Arsenal dressing room, and updates on several young players who could soon become official Arsenal signings. And perhaps the biggest question of all is this: could Julian Alvarez actually be considering Arsenal again? For a long time, the Argentine striker has reportedly been focused on Barcelona. But with that move looking increasingly complicated, Arsenal could suddenly have another opportunity. At the same time, Gabriel Martinelli appears to be getting closer to the exit door, while Arsenal continue to look at alternatives such as Kenan Yildiz and Matias Fernandez-Pardo. So there is a lot to discuss. Let's get straight into the latest Arsenal news. Let's start with the biggest story: Julian Alvarez and Arsenal. According to the reports you've provided, the situation surrounding the Argentine striker could be changing dramatically. Alvarez has reportedly been dreaming of joining Barcelona and has wanted to remain in Spain. However, Atlético Madrid have made their position clear. They do not want to sell him to Barcelona. That has created a very complicated situation. And now there are reports suggesting that Alvarez's position regarding Arsenal has softened. This is potentially huge for the Gunners. Arsenal have reportedly already made an offer after Atlético Madrid made their asking price known, although there is still work required before any agreement can be completed. The key issue is not simply whether Arsenal can meet Atletico's demands, it is whether Alvarez himself is prepared to choose Arsenal. That is the biggest question. For weeks, Barcelona has reportedly been his preferred destination. But if Barcelona cannot make an acceptable offer, Alvarez could eventually have to consider another option. And Arsenal are waiting. The Gunners have reportedly continued working on the deal because they believe there is still a possibility of changing the player's mind. Now, this is where the story becomes particularly interesting. Reports claim that Alvarez still has a strong desire to play for Barcelona. The Argentine reportedly believes that he could eventually become one of the club's great forwards and has ambitions connected to winning the Champions League with Barcelona. But Atlético Madrid are refusing to make things easy. If Atlético will not sell to Barcelona, the Spanish club would need to find another solution. And that could potentially open the door for Arsenal. There have even been reports suggesting that Barcelona would need something around 150 million euros, or approximately 128 million pounds, to seriously challenge for the player, but there is reportedly a belief that Barcelona do not currently have the financial capacity to get close to that figure. Arsenal, meanwhile, have been working on their own proposal, and there is another interesting possibility: Arsenal could potentially include a player in a deal. Atlético Madrid manager Diego Simeone has reportedly been interested in strengthening his attack. That means players such as Gabriel Jesus or even Victor Gyökeres have been mentioned as potentially attractive options. Whether anything like that actually happens remains to be seen. But the fact that possible player plus cash structures are being discussed shows just how complicated this transfer has become. Now we need to be very careful with this part. There are claims circulating that Mikel Arteta personally called Julian Alvarez, but that the Argentine did not answer the phone. This is a claim from reports circulating around the transfer story and should not be treated as confirmed fact unless a reliable source officially verifies it. But if such contact did happen, it would show how seriously Arsenal are taking this opportunity. Arteta clearly wants the right attacking profile, and Alvarez would fit that description perfectly. He is capable of playing as a central striker, but he can also operate in different attacking positions. His movement, pressing, finishing, and ability to combine with teammates would give Arsenal another dimension. Imagine Alvarez playing alongside Arsenal's existing attacking players. That is why this transfer has generated so much excitement. But Arsenal cannot simply assume that the player will choose them. They have to convince him. And that could be the final battle. Now let's move to another massive story: Gabriel Martinelli. According to the reports provided, Martinelli is closing in on a move to Saudi Pro League club Al Hilal. The reported transfer fee is around £40 million, although different reports may give different figures depending on add-ons and the structure of the agreement. This would be a major moment for Arsenal. Martinelli has been one of the most recognisable players at the club in recent years. He arrived as a young player and developed into an important member of the Arsenal squad. But his situation has changed. The reports claim that Arteta has told Martinelli to find a new club and that the winger has been frozen out of recent matchday squads. If the Al Hilal transfer is completed, it would bring an end to Martinelli's Arsenal career. And that is a huge decision. Arsenal are reportedly continuing to monitor alternative attacking options. Two names mentioned are Kenan Yildiz and Matías Fernández Pardo. Yildiz is particularly interesting. The Juventus attacker has been heavily linked with Arsenal in reports, but a move would be extremely difficult because Juventus value him highly. Arsenal would therefore have to decide whether they are prepared to make another enormous investment after spending heavily elsewhere. Fernández Pardo is another name being discussed as Arsenal look at young attacking talent. The strategy appears clear. If Martinelli leaves, Arsenal do not necessarily want to replace him with just any player. They want quality. And that is why Alvarez remains such an important target. Another interesting story concerns Arsenal's midfield. Arsenal have completed the signing of Bruno Guimaraes, and Arteta has reportedly been extremely impressed by the Brazilian midfielder's intensity. One comment attributed to Arteta described a player who simply did not want to stop and wanted to continue. That tells you something about the qualities Arsenal were looking for. Guimaraes brings energy, aggression, technical quality, and experience. And Arsenal believe he can become an important part of the midfield. His arrival also demonstrates that Arsenal are building a squad capable of competing across multiple competitions. The Gunners have already been extremely active in the transfer market. The reported arrivals include Piero Hincapié, Ilan Meslier, Christos Tsolis, Bruno Guimaraes, and Ezri Konsa. That represents significant investment. But Arsenal are apparently not finished. The biggest remaining question is whether they can add another elite attacker before the window closes. And this is why the Alvarez story is so important. If Arsenal can somehow convince Atlético Madrid and the player, they could finish the window with one of the most impressive attacking signings in Europe. But if Alvarez chooses to remain in Spain or Barcelona somehow finds a way to make the deal happen, Arsenal may decide not to panic. One of the most important details from the reports is Arsenal's transfer strategy. The club reportedly does not want to sign a forward simply because Martinelli leaves. They want top quality. That means Arsenal could potentially finish the transfer window without another major attacker if the right player is unavailable. This is important. Sometimes supporters expect a club to immediately replace a departing player, but Arsenal appear to be taking a different approach. They want a player who can genuinely improve the team. And Alvarez clearly falls into that category. That is why Arsenal are reportedly willing to wait. So what happens now? There are several possible scenarios. Scenario number 1. Arsenal convince Alvarez. If the Argentine accepts that Barcelona is not realistic and decides Arsenal is the best option, the Gunners could push forward with Atlético Madrid. Scenario number 2. Alvarez continues waiting for Barcelona. If he refuses to consider Arsenal, then the Gunners may have to walk away. Scenario number 3. Martinelli completes his Al Hilal transfer and Arsenal turn to another attacker. That could mean Yildiz, Fernández Pardo, or another target. And finally, Arsenal could decide that their current squad is strong enough and wait until another transfer window. Arsenal fans, this is becoming one of the most fascinating transfer window stories of the summer. Julian Alvarez remains the headline. His Barcelona dream appears to be the biggest obstacle, but Atlético Madrid's refusal to sell him to Barcelona could potentially give Arsenal an opening. At the same time, Gabriel Martinelli's expected move to Al Hilal would represent the end of an important Arsenal chapter. There are also questions surrounding the atmosphere inside the dressing room, although claims of widespread player unhappiness should be treated cautiously until there is stronger evidence. Meanwhile, Arsenal continue building for the future with young players such as Igor Tyjon, Habib Oguneye and James Scanlon, while major additions such as Bruno Guimaraes and Ezri Konsa strengthen the senior squad. Will Julian Alvarez finally become an Arsenal player? If you enjoyed this Arsenal transfer update, make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications and stay with us because the final hours of the transfer window could bring even more twists. Come on, you Gunners!